nice and early. Okay, being 5:30. Thank you, everyone. So it's a normal council meeting tonight, Monday, 24th of April 2023. Just acknowledgement of the country to start with. Sorry, now my microphone's on. Acknowledgement of country. Devonport City Council acknowledges and pays respect to the Palawa Pakana people as the traditional and original owners of Latruwita and continuing custodians of this land on which we gather. We also acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal elders past and present. In attendance, all persons in attendance are advised that it is council policy to record council meetings in accordance with council's digital recording policy. The digital recording of this meeting will be made available to the public on council's website for a minimum period of 6 months. The meeting will also be live streamed on council's YouTube channel. Apologies, we have a full house tonight, which is great. Thank you. Any declarations of interest?
Yes, Mayor, you do.
Councillor Murphy.
Item 3.2.2, Mayor. I'm employed by the company who manages that particular building. Therefore, I will be leaving the room.
Yes, Mayor. Item 4.1, I'm an employee of the school. I will be leaving the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any further declarations? Thank you for that. So we move on to procedural. And now we have confirmation of minutes 3.1. The recommendation is there if I can have a mover, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Seconder. Sorry, Councillor Hollister. Thank you, Councillor Martin.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollister.
Nothing further to add.
Sorry. Just bear with me, I'm having trouble with my microphone. It's back on again. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hollister. Councillor Martin, to close.
Any questions from the public council?
Any questions? No?
No, consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. And against? So moved. Thank you. 3.2, public question time.
Sorry.
Sorry. 3.2.1 is responses to questions raised at prior meeting, which there is none. 3.2.2. Oh, dear me. I apologise. Am I on? Thank you. 3.2.2 questions I noticed from the public. The recommendation is there. If I can have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Hollister, thank you. And seconder.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Viney. Councillor Hollister.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Viney.
Yeah, I will talk on this one just for a little bit. So in my previous life as an EHO, I actually did a bit of research about pigeons and problems around cities. There's quite a lot of research that's been done actually in Bern in Switzerland. That seems to be the hotspot for pigeon research. And the main conclusion from that was that generally pigeons are proven to be a problem if they're being fed by people. And the other one is that they're being harboured. And I know in the response here from council about, in particular the Days building, that we are concerned with the pigeons above that potentially becoming a health hazard. And having a chat with Ms Munson prior to the meeting, I know that council's well aware of this and that although there's not a lot that council can do, and we're trying to do as much as we can with that, and I was satisfied with what Ms Munson explained to me, and I'm happy with the response from council, knowing that it is known and that we are aware of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Viney. Any further comment? No, Councillor Hollister to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So moved. Thank you. If we could have councillor Murphy return. Thank you. Item 3.2.3, questions without notice from the public. Do we have anybody from the gallery that would like to ask any questions? Mr. Jenny, hello?
Thank you, Mayor Jarman. It's a comment, probably more than a question. Well, page 94 of this document, the upper parts of the bar charts, which are dark, the numbers are virtually unreadable. They need to be better. What's happening?
Thank you, Mr. Jenny. Mr. Atkins might give you an answer on that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. You can't actually find that particular page, but just to reinforce what we've said previously, we, with our graphs and charts, we try to make as many of those possible accessible on the web, so they're live. And I guess that's the priority. And then we do also reproduce them in the agenda. So that I guess the priority is to try and get the electronic format to look. That's the clearest way of looking at the graphs. But then they are reproduced in these agendas.
The council, through you, Mayor, the council should not be producing documents that are not readable. Thank you.
So noted, Mr. Jenny. Thank you. Any further questions from the gallery? Moving right along. 3.3 is question on notice of the councillors, which we have none. 3.4, notice of the motions, we have none. So we're moving into item 4, the planning authority matters. I will now announce that council intends to act as a planning authority. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for consideration of agendas items 4.1 and 4.2. 4.1 being Jalal Way Don Educational and Vocational Care. The recommendation is all there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Second.
And seconder,
Second.
Councillor Martin. Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, it's all there for everyone to see. It's obviously the demand is there, hence the reason for the additional classrooms. It's probably a positive and it's reflective of the fact that people actually want to come live and work here in Devonport. So it's great to see the educational facilities are being able to grow.
Thank you, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with the previous speaker. Of course, the Devonport Christian School, the only discretion we have, I was there about the bushfire home area code. And I know that the bushfire hazard management plan and emergency management strategy added as a condition has already been provided and endorsed by the Tasfire Service, so that's great. I also note that the air extraction, the pumping and refrigeration systems, compressors and generators that will be 10 metres from the residential area and will be conditioned on the permit as well. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you. And further comment? No, Councillor Murphy. Oh,
Consider it closed, Mayor.
thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. We'll ask Councillor Moore to return to the room. Thank you. Item 4.2, which is the rezoning part of 158 Caroline Street, East Devonport. If the recommendation is there, move it, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, thank you. And a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Gluczynski, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this has been in the pipeline for a long period of time, this particular proposal. It aligns with the endorsed residential growth strategy for Devonport and is quite clearly, again, an area of need, as I've said in the previous agenda item, people wanting to come work with and play here in Devonport, live here in Devonport. There is a shortage of land throughout the state, and I think the fact that is in close proximity to a general res zoning as it is. It's a common sense approach, so the recommendation is there, and I'll encourage my fellow councillors to endorse it.
Thank you. Councillor Wilczynski?
Yes, I agree with Mr Murphy and the fact that it is so close to the area of its residents and in the plan. And yes, we do need more people, more buildings. So definitely agree with the subdivision and the rezoning.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Shen?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to support Councillor Murphy and Councillor Wilczynski's comments. 32 lot subdivision in East Devonport is a fantastic testament to the growth of the city and the confidence that developers have in our future. It's going to be a wonderful addition to that suburb, which seems to be growing exponentially. Lots of development.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Hollister?
Yes, I support the recommendation for the rezoning. I think there's quite a few areas around Devonport that could be rezoned for residential, and it's quite obvious that with the shortage of housing and housing blocks that it is moved. So I fully support the rezoning.
Thank you. Any further comment? I certainly agree with all the speakers. It's certainly an area that I think is just due for screaming out for becoming residential living, and it's a great spot. So I think that that's certainly going to be icing on the cake for that area. And I think it will help also the side of East Devonport for understanding that development can come over there. Taskforce development, everything that's going on in East Devonport. East Devonport is the place to really watch at the moment, so I think it's great for them. Thank you. Councillor Murphy to close.
Thank you, Mayor. I just hope the state government gets on board and actually opens its eyes to what's actually happening up here in the Northwest Coast, and hopefully the developers won't find it too arduous going through the regulatory process with the Planning Commission, and hopefully we can they can get this through as quickly as they possibly can instead of 12 to 18 months down the track, because it's a common sense approach. It fits within the current area, so I think it's a complementary addition to what's already there. Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you very much. Item 5 is the reports. We're moving on to 5.1, Urban Art Free Wall. Recommendation is there. If I could have a move, please.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. Councillor Wilczynski, is that? And the seconder? Councillor Moore. Thank you. Sorry. I do like it when all my councillors want to put up motions. Thank you. Bear with me. Councillor Wilczynski.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea, and the back wall, it's just a place, it's there ready, it's a canvas, let's go with it. No, I totally agree.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, when sitting on the Public Art Committee, this was the table was pretty happy when we talked about this as a really great contemporary addition to public art in Devonport. It serves two purposes. One, it allows for street art and expression in our city, and it also gets rid of a very dreary wall. So I'm pretty excited to see this happening.
I agree. Any further comment? Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, with the way we are pushing forward with art and leading the way with the art within the Northwest and probably the state, it's great to have that there. I think that just sort of when you travel to other places, you see a lot of this urban art, and it really does add to it. And it's often just for people wandering around, they stand and watch the artists in action, and it just sort of adds something else to our city. So it'd be fantastic, I reckon.
Thank you. Further comment? Councillor Hollister.
Yes, I support this. There's a lot of walls around our community that can have artwork on them. We're recognised as probably the only art gallery in Tasmania that really supports Tasmanian arts and artists, and I think we've got some very good artists around this district here, which can hopefully gain some employment out of this sort of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Viney. Councillor Murphy, I'm aware you've got a problem.
Turn him off.
Councillor Viney.
So, big supporter of this. I think it's a great way of utilising the space. I think what's really exciting is that as there is 6 panels, it'll continue to evolve. And with the permit only being sort of 4 to 6 weeks, we'll get overlaps and new things happening in that space all the time. And I think the picture there on page 53 sort of shows how it currently looks, and I think we're going to make it look a lot more vibrant and more interesting. So, excellent idea.
Thank you. It's exciting times. Councillor Murphy, have we got a light on? Yes, we have.
Yeah, no, we've got a lot on there. There's probably a couple too many on. It's all good. Yeah, look, again, it's just Devonport just leading the way in its cultural diversity, and visually it's going to be a fantastic addition to the current streetscape. So,
thank you. Sorry, Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, any art I think that we have in our city helps gives our community and its visitors an opportunity to see the uniqueness of Devonport, and also get a very good glimpse of our culture and the way we're moving forward in supporting the culture of our city, especially in the art department. So I'm fully supporting the motion.
Thank you. Further comments? I certainly love the collaboration of how this is going to go about, in the way that's a little bit more free, which I think is really great. I can't wait to see it either. Thank you. Councillor Wilczynski, just comments.
No, just no more to add. Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
aye.
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 5.2. Mural collaboration with vibrants. So the recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Hollister, thank you. And a second.
Second.
Councillor Moore, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
I support this too, and I think this is even better from the point of view that it's funded by an outside organisation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I agree. I fully support. It comes within the existing funding for public artworks. Just a note to consider, I guess, is now that this is actually going to be in such close proximity to that urban wall, somebody with far more art experience than myself will have to understand how those two things look together so one doesn't detract from the other.
Thank you. Councillor Shan.
Thanks, Mayor. I think it's a great idea, and I was particularly struck by the quality of the murals that are in the paperwork. I think it's just going to be a fantastic addition to that precinct, being provided with a really good blank canvas. We can't end there, we've just got to keep layering and layering it over the years. So this is a really good start, and I hope it sort of is the beginning of a theme with council, just sort of start looking at these spaces that perhaps people pass by and don't notice. There are many, many ways that art can sort of activate the dead parts of the city, and it's a really pleasing trend that we're sort of going down this path. We've got such a great arts community.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Question.
Councillor Viney.
Yes, ma'am. No, I'm not working now, so. So I know that there is only the one site that will be used in this project, but I think what we've done is actually chosen the next 2 sites after that for future public art. So let's not stop at one there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hollister, you had a question?
Yes, the decision as to what art we wind up putting on these walls and so forth, will that become advice through the Public Arts Committee?
Absolutely. If you'd like, Mr. Dobson can give you a little bit further about that, but absolutely. It's the whole point of us having public art.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, the Violence Commission would be ran through the Public Art Committee.
Thank you. Any further comment, Councillor? Yes.
Thank you. The public art is really taking off around the place, and I just make one comment about, I was at the Devonport Oval on Saturday evening, and from the outer watching the football, and I was looking down towards the northern end, and you could see the beautiful newly painted, Mr. Dobson, what's the name of it?
Vertex.
The Yes, it looks fantastic, painted that bright red, and you can see it's clearly from the Devonport Oval, looks great. And I see it as I go past on the track a bit, but I didn't realise until it got painted again, and it looks really good. So hopefully that can continue, that sort of stuff.
Thank you. And I do believe that's the original colour that the artist always interpreted it to be. So it's now back to where it should be, which is even better. I think some people think that we just painted it because we wanted to, but it's all been in collaboration with the artist and with his permission. So it's wonderful. Thank you. Good comment. Any further comments at the moment? No. Councillor Hollister, close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes. So carried. 5.3 is the tender report contract for theatre setting. Everything's about the arts tonight, it seems, which is wonderful. The recommendation is there. If I can have a move, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Viney and Councillor Murphy seconded. Councillor Viney, please.
Yes, Mayor, I think the chairs are almost as old as I am. And I don't know anyone who has a 40-year-old couch at home, so you would understand how uncomfortable they would be. So they're certainly due for an upgrade. I think they would know that they were reupholstered about 18 years ago. So quite a big sum of money on this project. But it is also worth noting that Hadley did sharpen their pencil a little bit and came back with a slightly better price. Did ask the General Manager if there was a chance that the public might be able to have access to those chairs that were coming out. So hopefully there might be an opportunity for that so they don't just go to landfill.
You're saying reuse, recycle?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that it could be a talking point in someone's home. Maybe not to sit on, but just to sit in the corner.
Okay, we'll have you with the option. Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Interestingly enough, this is a fairly specialised field, so hence the reason why there wasn't probably a large competitive number of tenders for this particular job. So, I think we'll end up with a suitable outcome. And as the previous speaker mentioned, it was good to see that they actually went back, and it just goes to show that our tender committee can sort of leverage components to actually sharpen their pencil and get the best outcome for our community.
Thank you. Further comment, Councillor Hollister?
Yes, I actually watched the Irish dancing the other night, and those suits definitely are not all that comfortable.
You weren't cheeky.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hollister. Good to know. Any further comment? Councillor Viney, be closed, please.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed the Irish dancing the other night, but maybe if there was more comfortable seats, it might be an activity that Kelly might get on board with, and we'll go to that next time they're in town. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Just to note, the Irish dancers weren't Irish. I'll just point that out. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So moved. Thank you. 5.4, the Mersey River Eastern Pontoon
Move option
acquisition.
2.
Sorry.
Move option 2.
Thank you, Councillor Martin.
I'll second it.
Option 2.
And Martin.
Councillor Martin and Councillor Wilczynski. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. The Mersey Ferry service has been running 160 years at Devonport, which is a huge cultural connection between East and West Devonport. And the feeling that the community has around this ferry is huge in regards to that feeling of connection and well-being, and brings the city together. It has been ongoing for this long because of this connection, this feeling, and the people feeling that no matter, even though they might not use it as regular as they'd like to, that it's there and it connects our city. It also gives future opportunities in regards to our river cruises, as suggested by Kedge, also connection with Mersey Yacht Club, and of course the new hotel, which presents opportunities for increased traffic with tourism. And it is unique to our city. It's something we should be proud of, and we are proud of, and the community has come out numerous times in support of keeping that ferry service going. And it's something that we should, and I implore councillors to get on board to support this, because it is iconic to Devonport. It is a piece of our history, and it's an important piece of our history. When we start looking at other things that council spends our money on, such as sporting grounds, cultural activities, our buildings, and I'll say Home Hill, the Regional Art Gallery, even the facility up at Lawrence Drive that houses some of our art, etc. That's all partial to what council does, and it's because of the community want and need and appetite that we support these things. I think that from memory the community has come out about 3 or 4 times in support of wanting this ferry to continue over these last few decades, and the cry out has been strong. So much so, last October I took a quick petition with receiving over 1,000 signatures within 3 days. I know it's going to be a cost, but it's a cost that council can do. It's a cost that the community, through its support of the ferry, would be willing to contribute to through their rates, of course. And I see no reason why we shouldn't. In fact, because it's so much of an icon and historic connection, we should be keeping that and flourishing that and giving the opportunity it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilczynski.
Thank you, Mayor. My concern and belief regarding the Eastern Port pontoon and the ferry service is to our community. It's been an operation.
Your microphone.
Oh, sorry. 160 years. Sorry, I've doubled up on there. The conduit to east to west or the west to east, providing easy access and an integral part to the Devonport community. I understand times have changed with the way in which the ferry is utilised, but still it's a great service for our community. Once a piece of infrastructure like the pontoons or the pontoon are put on hold or hold and wait, see, or put it in the background on the back burner for our community, ferry service may be lost and in all likelihood never returned. I would not like to see that happen. Providing infrastructure is an essential role of the council, so it is the old saying, what comes first, the chicken and the egg? Part of the council's strategic plan is to improve connectivity in our city. So I would be supporting the option 2 for the council to work with stakeholders and sourcing up the, shoring up the costing and refurbishment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holliston.
Yes, I believe option 2 is the correct option at this stage. The ferry is still sitting over at the yacht club. It has an order Hobart we can burn, so it's a fair way off yet. But I don't think we need to make a decision on anything further than at this stage till they come out with plans and so forth in the future. I don't think we need to put anything in this 23-24 budget. I believe it will be the following year, if anything ever happens. So I don't think it's a decision we need to make at this stage to receive whether it's going to come back here at all. Time will tell. So I'm supporting option 2.
Thank you, Councillor Holliston. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I may be a while. I won't be supporting option 2 for a number of factors. The previous speaker before Councillor Hollister made mention of a number of different things with respect to history and connectiveness and this, that and the other. Historically, that ferry has always been privately run. It's never been supported by a council. So I think we need to make sure when we talk about history that we make it relevant with respect to that was a business enterprise with respect to getting people and goods across from Torquay to Horn. Okay. The second thing is, Councillor Martin mentioned Home Hill. That is responsibility of National Trust, not council, as far as I'm aware. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the National Trust or the Tasmanian Trust that looks after or supports that particular facility or that piece of infrastructure up there at Home Hill. And I don't necessarily agree with the fact that the ferry service is unique. There has been a number of ferry services throughout Tasmania, and different LGAs that are similar to what we currently have here. Yes, I acknowledge it has been a ongoing service, but it also hasn't been ongoing for now some period of time. Again, with Councillor Wilczynski's statement about Council's responsibility to provide infrastructure, not necessarily. I don't agree with that because, again, what's been proposed by Kedge, and there are a number of discrepancies in relation to the report that's been provided, as Councillor Hollister pointed out, back in December 15 of 2022, Kinetic wrote to us and actually said that the ferry is on its way to Hobart for its refit, this, that and the other. The fact that Kedge hasn't got permission or engaged in conversation with respect to a hydrogen cell on Tasport's land, which would be a requirement for them moving forward. The major point for me is the fact that AMSA hasn't given them a formal go-ahead to actually, this is an opportunity for Kedge to lever Devonport ratepayers for them to be able to achieve an outcome to demonstrate to AMSA that they can convert maritime vessels, commercial maritime vessels, into hydrogen-operated vessels. So this isn't about Kedge they're not willing to commit to an ongoing service, and they have provided advice to council through workshops that they only intend to operate it on a needs basis, so it will only operate, from what I can gather, from what they've conveyed to us, for short periods of time in the morning. Then it'll do some runs up and down the river, so it won't be the service that it's always been, and that is an on-demand service. What councils need to understand is that we are potentially exposing the ratepayers of Devonport to being levied to support this into the future. This isn't 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years down the track. This is forever and a day. And if we don't have a good business model and we don't have an operator who's willing to commit for that period of time, why should the ratepayers of Devonport commit to very expensive infrastructure, which would take significant maintenance over many years and ongoing maintenance? We currently have one pontoon already that was gifted by a group of business philanthropists, if you like, to save the ferry last time. And back then in 2014, Grant Gould made it very clear, if the community didn't support the service and the service was taken off the run, it would cease to exist because the simple fact being, we can't save it anymore. We can keep throwing money at it, but at the end of the day, is it a nostalgic thing? Okay, why doesn't a group get together to save the ferry and approach the National Trust or other organisations that are into preserving history, but not the ratepayers of Devonport? The numbers themselves in this report are very, very clear of what it's going to cost and the impact it will have on our capital expenditure budget over many years. And I think we need to be very careful about considering that. The current proposal as it sits at the moment is not the right one. It does not align itself with what council's strategic view is with relation to providing connectivity and of our city, because unfortunately connectivity's changed. From 160 years ago, connectivity was to get on the ferry to come from one side or the other. Now we can do it via Zoom. So things change. So unfortunately, I will not be supporting the motion, and I would encourage my other councillors to think very seriously about whether we are putting ourselves into a position where we are going to commit to infrastructure over a long period of time, that there is no commitment for the operator to actually operate the service and utilise. If they want that piece of infrastructure, they can have it for nothing. There's no cost to Kedge for that. But I know one thing is they don't want the ongoing responsibility for it, and if they pull the service off the run, they don't want the financial liability of having to remove it.
Thank you. Further comment, Councillor Shannon.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, noted, Councillor Murphy, I think, you've obviously put a lot of thought into that. Sadly, I'm not at the point where I want to give up on the ferry. Like a lot of people, I've got an emotional attachment to it. But I note that option 2 is merely saying that we continue to work with key stakeholders to prove up costs consideration of the budget. I think from the operator's point of view, I'd really like to see a timely review of this so that they're not kept on hold forever and ever. And if it's wrapped into the budget deliberations, that's probably going to give us that timeliness. I would like to have a better understanding of the costs, noting that the condition assessment didn't include the diver's inspection or coating inspection. Nor do we seem to have any sort of guarantee about the longevity of the ferry operation once we spend CapEx on the pontoon, how long will they keep it running. On the flip side, I'm really excited about hydrogen as a power source being used on the ferry. I think it's fantastic for our branding as a city. I understand that's completely for the company's benefit, but I don't have an issue with that. I think from our perspective, if we were to have a hydrogen ferry running on Mersey, I think that really cements our branding as a progressive, exciting city that's, got its future linked to renewables, which isn't necessarily a bad thing with all the work that we've been doing on gas leak. Sorry. And finally, just in closing, I would note it is one of the major roles of council to provide and maintain infrastructure. It's our job. So yes, there is a big commitment to potentially to ratepayers, which we will look at carefully as part of the budget deliberations.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Yes, I just believe that we're not really committing too much at this stage if we go with option 2. I'm yet to be convinced that hedges. I'd like to see them actually be prepared to have some sort of business case with some sort of plan and some sort of commitment. At the moment they haven't, which makes it sort of a bit funny that we will be looking at having a pontoon with possibly nothing operating. Who knows? We'll wait and see, but I don't think we can go too much wrong with receiving and noting the report, and sort of trying to see a bit more before we actually finally commit to anything.
Thank you. Further comments?
Question on that?
Yeah.
Question.
Sorry. Councillor Martin?
Just through you to the General Manager, Council's involved with home meal. Just that line out.
Through you, Mayor. Council own Home Hill and maintain the building. National Trust own the collection and operate the facility, and council have a funding agreement. I think it's 28,000 per annum provided.
Just a follow-up question as well to the GM. Has council actually supported financially the ferry operation in part?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Council's previously had some 3-year agreements, I think 2 3-year agreements with Mersey, which provided 25,000 per annum to that company to operate the ferry. The last one was paid in June 22.
Thank you.
Councillor Hollister?
Yes, at this stage, the current owner has the maintenance and so forth, and insurance on the pontoon, and the council would not be liable for anything. It'd be up to task force and connected, I suppose.
Do you mean the eastern pontoon?
The eastern one. Council is not responsible for that at this stage only.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, that's correct. Council don't own it. We don't have any jurisdiction over the river edge there. It's responsibility of Connecticut alone.
Question there to the Chair.
Yes.
Just with respect to the financial commitment of $25,000 per annum, was that in conjunction with a state government contribution as well?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, that's correct. There was a similar amount, equal amount, I think, provided by the state government.
Just on that, if I may.
Is this another question, Councillor Martin?
Well, just in the points that the General Manager manager has made, is that when, I think Mersey Link, I stand to be corrected here, state government used to provide a separate amount for the subsidy of the Mersey ferry. But when Mersey Link took over, that amount of money was, taken up by the overall provision of funds to run the bus service.
Is this a question, Councillor?
No, as I
You can put this in
mentioned,
your closing statement.
as I mentioned, I'm just following up from the General Manager's statement. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comment? Councillor Viney?
Yeah, so just for clarification, this isn't committing to taking ownership of the pontoon, this is only considering it in the next budget.
The last part of the option 2 is prior to
Yep.
any decision to accept ownership.
Yeah, so I'd just like to say that you should never look a gift horse in the mouth unless, of course, that horse is actually a pontoon and it's quite dilapidated and is going to cost up to $150,000, let's say, to use it next year and almost $500,000 to use it in 5 years' time. I mean, that's just what we say in Sprague. But so I guess my point is that, yes, we could take this pontoon as a gift, but it isn't free. Like, let's just be clear, it's not a free gift. And I might just remind, actually no, I won't worry about that. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Viney. Any further comment? Councillor Moore?
Yeah, I'm respectful of the history and the sentiment of the ferry, and Councillor Munn, respectful that you've fought pretty hard for this, and I appreciate that you, this is really dear to you, or you're fighting for this. But I just take note of the report that said, if Kedge fails to operate the ferry service to the community, council will be left with 2 pontoon assets and a limited community benefit. And that is my main concern with this proposal. I also disagree that, well, Councillor Munt said he had 1,000 signatures, which I have no doubt he did. At what cost is my question. You can get lots of signatures of support for something, but when you then ask people would they go without something else in place of it, I think it's a different matter. So I will be supporting option 2, knowing that we're not actually committing to taking the gift as yet.
Thank you. You've got a comment?
Question.
Question, Councillor Hollister.
Council owns the western pontoon. We open it up for public fishing.
We might look at that later on if that's what we want. At the moment, thank you, Councillor Hollister. Any further comment? I will just put my 2 cents worth in very quickly. I don't have a problem with option 2 because it's not making a decision yet. It's still allowing us to have a discussion. However, I will just point out that pontoon might not even be, the eastern pontoon might not even be in the right location. The spirits are moving, their location's changing. That pontoon might be completely null and void where it is. We might need a brand new pontoon if we're trying to get a ferry back on the water to be in a different location completely on the eastern side. We're getting no guarantees currently from Kedge. I'm just very much doubting whether it's really for what Councillor Munt has been fighting for through the time, that it's for the people of East Devonport to have as access across the water. I just doubt at the moment that Kedge is really thinking about that. They're going to make it available at some stage, but not all the time. So it might be that we need a different operator. I don't know how this all works, but we need to really look at this seriously. I think that's what we can do with option 2. I think council can sit down and really nut this out so that we can try and get a ferry back on the water, but get a ferry back on the water for the right reasons and for the people. So Councillor Martin, to close, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As previously pointed out, the council has been supporting a lot of infrastructure within our municipality with support of our constituents. I did mention Home Hill, I mentioned Julie Burgess as well. We fund that. The first step of the process, of course, is to Kedge to get some guarantee from council in regards to having access to the eastern and the western pontoon. We haven't provided that. So that's probably, I was closing.
Okay.
So Kedge, the ferry's still sitting over there, even though they're going to try and take it down Hobart. It's been sitting over there for 4 months. And we've been, with due respect, procrastinating a little bit about this issue, and rightly so too, don't get me wrong there. We do need to discuss it, we do need to find the right way forward, but it's got to be given a good chance to get it back on the run. Kedge has actually offered to do this. No one else has come up and said, I'll take it on, I'll convert it, I'll bring the vessel up to scratch to meet all the necessary requirements, including disability access, a disability toilet on board, and to be able to take the opportunity of doing river cruises up the Mersey River, which is a tourism operation as well. And with the new hotel, as I mentioned before, I think that's a great opportunity that we need to grasp hold of if we can. Of course, part of that process is the first conversion is to an electric motor, then looking into the future to convert it to hydrogen. So one step at a time, and that's hopefully Kedge will take that step each time and then get it into motion and address the issues as they come up and work towards probably a need for a better timetable. Who knows? Every time we talk about this ferry, the community show comes out in support of it continually. Living City is also progressing, and we've changed and rejuvenated our city centre, and now it shouldn't be at the cost of losing something like historical like a ferry. The main point, I suppose, and as Councillor Wyszynski has pointed out, is chicken and egg stuff. We need to get the infrastructure in place so Kedge can have the have the confidence moving forward to provide a business plan and to spend money and time developing an in-depth business plan. If we don't provide that certainty, why would he go and do that at this stage anyway? Council also owns the Western Pontoon and has to maintain that as well and insure it as well. And of course, yes, the Eastern Pontoon needs some work, and as the Mayor has pointed out, that it may not be in that right position. But we don't know that. We're guessing. All the balls are up in the air. Option 2 gives us an opportunity to dive further down the rabbit hole and to give this opportunity the best chance we can of returning the ferry service to the river and continuing this historical icon for Devonport and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Yeah.
So if I could have a show of hands for those for. Councillor Ennis, Councillor Wilczynski, Councillor Martin, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Moore, Councillor Sheen, Councillor Jones. And against? Councillor Murphy and Councillor Viney. So carried. Thank you. 5.5 is cultural collections storage. The recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Hollister, and a second.
Second.
Councillor Murphy, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
I believe I went through this building when it was first built, and I've been through it a couple of times since. And every time I've been there, it's got more overcrowded. And I think it's time for a bit of an extension, and so I support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
I agree with Councillor Hollister. There's a lot of stuff there and we've got to look after it.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Viney.
Yeah, during our tour of the council facilities a couple of months ago, it was almost embarrassing to go into that room and see how poorly we're keeping those historic artefacts. In actual fact, they're probably safer under my house at the moment than where they currently are.
Are you offering?
There's too much stuff under there already. But I think as a part of increasing the space that's been requested or suggested in the report, that we should also be looking at ways of reducing the amount of, let's call them artefacts or stuff that's currently in council's possession. I think we should actively be doing that, because the only thing better than gaining more space is decluttering items that don't fit in with current council policy or plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Ennis.
I think decommissioning 6 Gloucester Avenue as a storage place, it would be the best thing we could ever do. It is not suitable at all, and maybe suitable for something else down the track, but not for storing stuff, as has been mentioned before.
Thank you. Further comment? Councillor Hollister, close please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 5.6 is the health and wellbeing strategy, which we've been working on. Recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, seconder, please.
Seconded.
Councillor Hollister, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. It's just a testament to how well our council goes through a consultative process. This has been an ongoing project for some period of time, and the benefits, once it's finalised, will be significant for our community. So, again, we've still got a little way to go, but once we support the vision and the outcomes of the plan, we still need to bring those stakeholders together in the future. So, I applaud the council officers and council staff for driving this, and we'll continue to keep doing so, and let's see what the framework provides us in the future.
Thank you. Further comment? I will just say a huge thank you to everybody that has been involved in working on the strategy. There's been a huge amount of investment into this, and I really appreciate all the different organisations and community people and leaders who have been part of this. I've never seen such engagement that's happened for something like this, and I'm very, very proud to see it. We've been called the Living City, now we're going to be called the Living Well City, I believe, and that's how we're going with this. The strategy is amazing. If you've got a chance to read it, anyone listening at the moment, please do so you can see all the facets of what we've been working on and how important it is. And I really love the terminology Ms. Bryant used in it, calling it the spine. And it really is the backbone of everything we do here. And I really agree, it's a very important document and an important strategy. And I'm really pleased that we're signing off on this, and we're going to utilise this really well. It's going to be a tool that we use all the time. Thank you. Councillor Murphy to close.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll heartily agree. It will be transformational. So, and I love the fact that, as Carol Bryan has mentioned, that the Living Well City. So, I just encourage my fellow councillors to endorse it.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 5.7 is the Bluff Beach Ocean Pool. We have a recommendation there. Do I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Moore and Councillor Murphy. Councillor Moore.
Yes, I'm happy to go with this council recommendation that we note the feasibility study and that we will not progress any further with the development or concept at this time. I believe that the feasibility study, which we had a look at, was comprehensive, and it demonstrated that the cost per user is just cost prohibitive for our council, that the amount of people that will use it for more than the 40 odd days, and that's not statistical, I don't actually have that data, but more than the 40 odd days that it is hot enough for the majority of people to swim at the pool. I just believe that it would not be in the council's best interest to spend the $350,000 to get the plan or the scope up and running, or the at least $3 million to get the pool to where it needs to be. So I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, look, I think it was the move of the original notice of motion that we actually went through this process. I think when Councillor Ennis brought it to as a notice of motion, I supported it then, and it sort of encouraged me to do a fair amount of work, a bit of research into these things. And I'm not surprised by the outcome. I think one of the challenges that the Devonport area faces is actually the depth of the Bluff precinct and the Bluff Beach itself, compared to when you look at other areas around the country that actually have these things. They're actually in deeper water, like the depth of water and the tidal change is not as significant as what it is here in our locality. So whilst I think that the intent of the original notice of motion and the process that we've been through, financially, it's just the costs are just too much for the size of the municipality that we currently are. It's just probably cost prohibitive at this particular point in time, and it'd be very, very difficult for a council of our size to commit, that amount of money over a period of time to actually invest in this type of infrastructure.
Thank you. Further comment from the table, Councillor Hollister.
I think this is correct recommendation for council. To actually build this, then every year after that you're going to have a maintenance cost of all the storms and things that we get at the bluff, probably 300 to 500,000 a year or something. Splash pool costs us about $1 million a year as it is now, so I don't think we can really add an extra operational cost and maintenance cost to what we've already got for the amount of use that we get.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I think just looking back at, Councillor Hollister mentioned Splash or the indoor pool up there. I think the fact that the indoor pool took about 15 years of community engagement and pressure to actually get that about. They had public meetings, they had signatures, they had all sorts of things that went on. 15 years for that. And yes, it does cost, but things cost. We provide a service for our community, and not only just close community, but broader in our area. I think that's a great thing that we can do that. I see no issue with pushing on. Now, I'd like to commend council officers who did a really great job in presenting, a whole lot of information there, which was awesome, that none of us had seen before, and none of the ratepayers have seen before and I doubt whether many of them would have looked very closely at the agenda and been able to look through that. But what we want to do is, probably without raising expectations about this project, that it would go ahead, I'd like to foreshadow a motion that if this is lost, that we do some public engagement, some consultation as to whether that it is warranted or it is possible. I think that's where we need to go. We need to listen to our people. They haven't had the opportunity yet. We have. Council officers have looked at some things, and yes, the money. We spend a lot of money on all sorts of things. This could well be something that would be sensational for our area. But people might come back and tell us no, that it's not. So I just don't like the bit where it says, without not to progress with any further development. I think consultation won't cost us anything. Asking people via our social media, asking that people via public meeting, for example, could all happen, and they'll tell us whether it's possible or not. I think that way we could then either move forward with it or see where the community wants to go. And I think we owe that to the people who haven't had the opportunity yet. No detail has been out, not the detail that's been in here, the fantastic detail and the sort of vision that might be there hasn't been out there. And I think it'd be remiss of us to just take it away and say, no, we're not showing it to you, or it's not going to be considered. So I hope that if this is lost, that we can foreshadow another motion.
Thank you. Further comment? Councillor Shane.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I completely agree with Councillor Ennis's call to have some decent community consultation on this so that we've got measurable feedback from the community. I wholeheartedly disagree with any previous speaker prior to Councillor Ennis. I just think personally, as someone who's lived interstate around ocean swimming pools for decades, you can see the impact they have on the community, particularly for our older citizens. And yes, I know we don't have the climate of Sydney, but you know, our water is swimmable for more than 40 days of the year. And I just think, you know, the tourism brochure writes itself, you know, come and stay at the hotel, ride your bike around to the ocean pool and do some laps before breakfast at, you know, wherever, at the Bluff. It could be an iconic tourist attraction. I love option one, the way it sort of hugs that sort of natural geographic coastline anyway. And yes, it's $3 million, but look, I think we've got to, if there is community demand for it, $3 million is something that a city our size and a city with our aspirations shouldn't be scared of, because the infrastructure that's going to deliver on a number of our key priorities, which are tourism and livability, I think we should be actively pursuing it. I'm just so disappointed that the other councils have said no. I respect their reasons, but my goodness, you know, we've got to look up. We've got to look up and forward as to how we want to position this city and what our tourism, how our tourism offer around the water develops over the next decade. I will be supporting Councillor Ennis's motion if he brings it forward at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shane. Councillor Murphy.
I agree with Councillor Ennis and Councillor Shane. It will set us apart in Tasmania, let alone, you know, little old Tassie Isle coming to Tasmania and having such a unique aspect in a smaller area. It's natural. The wellness factor that we've just spoken about in the previous motion. There is a huge resurgence of people swimming all year round in any temperature. Let it be in the snow or ice. They cut a hole and they jump in it. For the people who want that type of exercise or wellness, it's going to be there. I think it's a goer. We should take it out to the public and let them have a look at it, because I think you'll be surprised how excited people would be to know that something like that can be in their back door, in their backyard. So I would support Councillor Sheen and Ennis with taking it to public consultation. And congratulate Matt and the team for what they've done. It's a great presentation.
Thank you. Further comments?
If I may, Mayor.
Have you got a question? Councillor Murphy, you can't make another statement.
Question? Yes, I'll make it a question then.
Oh, yeah.
How difficult is it for the council currently in dealing with Crown Land to remove the shingle from the beach, let alone from an ocean pool? That'd be my question. Because quite clearly, when we have a number of significant events, i.e. the kids triathlon and then the para triathlon, the council wasn't even able to get the shingle off the beach to use the beach, let alone use an ocean pool. Can we just get some clarity? Yeah, that was the question, is how difficult is it with respect to doing that?
Yes, through you, Mayor, there's a permit process and council's required to go through and put in a management plan to the relevant state department before we can touch the shingle.
Councillor Martin.
Question, is that every time we want to touch the shingle, or is that just an annual one permit?
I believe it's each time.
Thank you.
Question.
Councillor Hollister.
I just wonder if this is a case of be careful what you ask for.
Is that a comment or a question?
Is that a comment or a question?
Probably
Right, okay. Once you've had your comments, you can ask a question. Councillor Murphy, do you have a question?
Yeah, a rough estimate, the cost associated with the removal of the shingle on an ongoing basis, considering it is a fairly tidal area.
Through you, Mayor, we have to take it on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, you've still got your light on.
Yes, I haven't spoken to or is
Thank you.
motion yet.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you. We went through this at a workshop, fairly in depth, and discussed it with the council officers, and the depth of information that was provided from the council officers was immense and certainly painted a picture. I would encourage Councillor Ennis that although this motion, original motion, probably won't get up in regards to having the open seat full, there's no reason why you can't bring it back later when we start talking about the shifting of boundaries or amalgamations and how this municipality is going to change over the next 3 to 4 years. And it might be that we might have a bigger representation that needs, wants such a facility and a bigger dollar bucket to grab it from. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? So if I can ask Councillor Moore to close.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe people vote with their feet. While we could go out and ask questions, our feasibility study told us that there was less than 20 people who access the bluff at the moment for lap swimming. Of those 20 people, they can still swim at the bluff regardless of if we have a pool or not. If there's people that want to swim through ice or any of that, our bluff is an extremely safe beach. We only had 4 rescues over the summer. We had more preventative things, but we only had 4 actual rescues at the bluff beach all summer. They were not lap swimmers. Okay. I do believe that it's too much to pay for a beach which people can access safely to swim already. Thank you.
Thank you. So for this, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. And against? Aye. So show of hands for the recommendation. Councillor Murphy, Councillor Martin, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Viney, Councillor Moore, Councillor Jarman, and against Councillor Ennis, Councillor Wilczynski and Councillor Sheen. The recommendation is carried. Thank you. We're moving on to item 6 of information. 6.1 is workshops and briefings. If I can have a mover and a seconder, please.
So moved.
Councillor Hollister, a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Murphy, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
Just a list of the workshops I've had. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor, it is merely procedural. I will comment though, the planning day workshop we held out at the Mersey Yacht Club was a fantastic day, and it was a good opportunity for councillors to come together and sort of get a bit of an understanding where we're all sitting and who's on the Zoom.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Ennis.
Yeah, just comment on the Don River Railway presentation was very timely. Happened just the evening before the fire, so all excited about that. And then the next morning you wake up and hear that that's not good for the railway, but I'm sure they will recover.
Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
Thanks, Mayor. With the planning day that preceded the beginning of budget planning process, I just want to note I was really impressed with the way that was run throughout the day, having an external facilitator come in, the sort of measured way we all got a chance to prepare our thoughts regarding budget expenditure in advance, and the collaboration and I guess just the way all the councillors collaborated on the day. It's obviously certain councillors have different passion projects, if I could call it that, but just as an observer, someone like really fresh on council, the one thing I did note was that everyone was there with an absolute commitment to leave the city in a better place and do stuff. And I just would question whether all councils, have that sort of strong strategy in place. Yeah, we're all going to disagree on the nuances and whatnot, but yeah, it was just a really professionally run day. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Hollister, close, please.
Very close.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. 6.2, the Mayor's monthly report. Do you want to have a mover and a seconder, please? So, Councillor Wilczynski. Second, Councillor Shea. Thank you. Councillor Wilczynski.
Just that you do a lot of meetings and well done. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Councillor Sheed.
Yeah, well done, Mayor. Another phenomenal month. It's impressive what you get through. I did actually go to the Scouts AGM on your behalf during the month. That was really interesting to see how they struggle with succession planning issues, like we all do. But good on them, and well done on that sort of very large agenda that you've got through. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all councillors that do cover for me with things that I can't attend or things that suit them better. So thank you for that. Councillor Wilczynski to close, if there's no further comment from the table. No?
Consider it close.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. 6.3 is the General Manager's report. I'll have a mover and a seconder, please.
So moved.
Councillor Moore, Councillor Hollister is a seconder, I think. Sorry. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, once again, a busy month for the General Manager. I just wanted to bring special attention to, I was really glad to see the Devonport City Council's submission in favour of the sports school staying in Devonport. I think it's really important that we fight for our families and our facilities to stay here, especially the families that are already doing it pretty tough. Anything as a city that we can do to lighten their load or even not contribute further, I think that that's part of Council's role, and thank you for your submission, General Manager.
Thank you, well said. Councillor Hollister.
Yes, been meeting with the Rugby Hill Aboriginal Corporation, giving any insight as to what we can do with Tiagara.
Your report. I was at the meeting of girls, of course.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Yeah, the meeting wasn't really to talk about Tiagara. It was for those guys to introduce themselves. They're based down at Circular Head. They run an employment agency for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people, and they came to meet with the Mayor himself to really explain their services, and they're seeking some further government funding, and they're looking for some support.
Thank you. Nothing further than that.
Who's this tonight? Back on. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hollister. Any further comments? Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to address Councillor Moore's comments about the support of the council for the North West Support School for Devonport, and a $15.5 million commitment by the state government to actually build a purpose-built school in Devonport. And I also comment that I think there has also been a lack of consultation direct with the families to get an idea of the complexities involved in their daily routines, and those that attend the school feeling comfortable about those routines and the support that their parents and the schools and the services within Devonport that surround that school and those students in this area. And to think that they just can be up and taken to another area 30 kilometres away, which doesn't have an ambulance station there, I think it's unbelievable. So I applaud the support of council in regards to this matter.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a bit of an update. Both you and the General GM met with Elspeth, I hope I got that right, Moroney from State Road, with respect to some of our traffic issues across Devonport. Was that a positive conversation? And I know these bureaucrats from the southern end of the state, when they do come north, we don't necessarily feature that high on their hierarchy or their matrix with respect to our needs. But was there, can you provide us with any other information?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. It's always good to get some of those senior people from within the department up to this part of the state, and it was good for the Mayor and I to be able to drive Elspeth around and show us some of the hot spots on the state road network in Devonport. We went out to Mersey Road and looked at the intersection there at Kelsietier, and also the Sheffield Road intersection. We talked about the section of Wright Street coming off the highway to the port, section that's owned by council and potentially fits better as part of the state road network. And we also talked about the long-term future of Stony Rise Road and Devonport Road and whether that should be reviewed and whether with the state owning Devonport Road, whether, with state currently owning Stony Rise Road and us owning Devonport Road, whether that should be changed. But we did point out the fact that Stony Rise Road is in much poorer condition than the council owned Devonport Road, and we need that to be upgraded. So, and the intersection was the other one at French Street, we pointed that out. So, and the middle road overpass. So we had a busy couple of hours, and it was good to just put those on the radar. And I think it was fair to say we got a good hearing. And, she certainly went away aware of the issues that we have in Devonport with traffic and on the state road network.
Thank you. Councillor Lonnie.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm after a little bit more information about this trip to Melbourne to check out the basketball stadiums. If there was something in the sort of size frame that we were looking for, and if you've come back inspired from that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So the Matt Skirving and yourself and Johnny Cornell, the person who will be leading that project, went to Victoria. We spent 2 days going around 6 stadiums, pretty full-on itinerary. Went up to Bendigo, across to Ballarat, down to a new stadium being built in Bacchus Marsh, and then the next day went down to Traralgon and Dandenong and Knox, and that was with the couple of the architects from Pebblethorpe, who were the consultants that council's appointed. It's fair to say it was good to see a whole range of different stadiums. They varied from forecourt community-based facilities through to the one at Dandenong has 19 indoor basketball courts, so quite a different scale. To see the show courts, hear the different concerns and comments around the type of flooring, skylights seem to be a contentious issue, the folding seat arrangements and the configurations for open courts. So all of the stadiums we went to had either just been built or been upgraded within the last 3 years, 3 to 5 years. So they're all quite new. One was still under construction. Overall very worthwhile tour and good to walk through those sites with the architect and point out the things that we felt that could be beneficial for our stadium.
Councillor Hollister.
Just another question. In your discussions, it's probably not actually for but the corner of Wright and Tarpon Street in East and put on the lights, you come off the bridge and so forth. Doing the line marking going south from the lights. There's some missing going north for quite some time, and there's still probably 2 or 3 years ago, the marking was never ever put on there. Question for somebody.
Through you there, we'll take that on notice and follow up. Thank you, Councillor Hollister.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. Yes, I'm really pleased that we wrote a letter of support for our support school based in Devonport. It's basically, and I've mentioned before, an example of a body, in this case the state government, making a decision without widely consulting with people. And I know Councillor Martin mentioned this, that, we need to consult before we make decisions as an all-knowing body, and that's something that they fail to do. So let us not fall into that trap of making the decision without proper consultation. Thank you.
So noted, Councillor Ennis. Pointed. Any further comments? No. Councillor Moore to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 6.4, the monthly operational report. There is a recommendation there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Barney, thank you. Councillor
Second.
Councillor Murphy. Councillor Barney.
Yeah, it's quite a read, there's a lot of information there, and it's always good to glance over it. Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, as per normal, very detailed report. It's good to see we've still got some consistency with respect to building and subdivision applications. So again, it's that trend's sort of, although April does drop off a little bit, but the trend's sort of pretty consistent, which is positive news. So.
Thank you. Any comments, Councillor Shen?
Quick one, just good to note that revenue for the multi-storey car park is over budget, and hopefully that's flowing through to retail coffers as well.
Thank you. No further comments? Councillor Barney to close, please.
Nothing further, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 6.5, unconfirmed minutes, Devonport City Council Audit Panel. If I could have a move and recommendation there, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, and a second, please.
Second.
Oh. Councillor Ennis. Sorry. Councillor Ennis. Councillor Murphy.
Just merely procedural matters, all that.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Nothing further to add?
Thank you. Any further comments?
No, just that it's a good report, sorry. It's a good report. It's good that Devonport City Council had an outside audit committee many years before it became a state government legislated body.
Thank you. Any further comment? No, Councillor Murphy to.
Consider closing that.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So moved. Thank you. Item 7 is section 23, which we have no information from that. So we'll be moving into a closed session.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Councillor Martin and Councillor Murphy, second. Councillor Martin,
Nothing, mate.
Councillor Murphy,
Nothing.
any further comment from the table at all? No, Councillor Martin to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So moving into closed. Thank you to those that are in the gallery. Always appreciate you being here as support. Thank you.